Peace, Love, Liberty Radio version 4.1. Initializing upgrades. Accessing peace. Existing without violence. With the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Ashes to ashes, we're falling down. Slaves to the men that stole the crown. There's a warning sign, like a blazing sun. You don't want to see because you're having fun. But those who control all the information celebrate and lie to the people to keep them watching.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at FPPRadio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, and I promised you on Friday that I would do this article because it's been sitting in the show prep for quite some time. It is 5 reasons why school does not prepare you for the real world, and as with a lot of the show prep, it comes from lifehack.org. They say, for a person to become a truly independent and capable grown-up, they need to work on themselves and do more when it comes to getting ready for life than just attending school on a regular basis. Although improvements are constantly being introduced into the educational system, it's still not nearly enough. Now, I will say that there are a lot of changes that happen to schools, but I don't know how many of those changes are necessarily improvements per se. But I am glad that they mention that, you need to work on yourself to wind up being a capable adult, an independent and capable grown-up. The exact words used here. And the reason that I'm glad that they mention that is because, well, that's what I've been trying to do, not only with myself, but help you do as well with this show over the last, say, year and a half or so. Because you might recall it was February of last year when I, decided I've been, a big guy for too long. I want to change something. I want to lose some weight. And I stepped on a scale and wound up realizing that I weighed a lot more than I thought I did. And then about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, maybe, I heard Penn Jillette talking on his podcast, Penn Sunday School, about how he went on this drastic diet, wound up losing 80 pounds in 90 days. And I was like, all right, I can wind up doing this. And March 20th of 2015, started a diet. Had no clue what the hell I was doing. I was like, all right, I'm just going to, juice some stuff and low carb, low fat. Because I heard a bunch of people talking about, the low carb, high fat, but I know what my metabolism is. And so I was like, low carb, low fat. And there were days that I would count calories, and, a lot of times I was between 500 and 700 calories a day. And from the end of February 2015 through mid-February of this year, I dropped 145 pounds. I've since gained a little bit. Part of that was because of, the travel and the stress eating that I've talked about previously. But, I'm trying to figure out, what can I eat on a, day-to-day basis without, adding weight and also not necessarily losing. What can I eat to stay where I am? And I've kind of found something. And I'm thinking here in, another couple of weeks. Well, right now I'm in the midst of what's called a transformation workout program. It's called Shortcut to Size. And it's a 12-week program. Week 6 starts today. So after I finish recording this podcast today, Monday, October 3rd, I'm heading to the gym. And then after that, going out to Manchester for an Adam Kokesh event later tonight. But yeah, so after I finish this 12-week workout, whatever I'm at right then, if I'm, looking good to where I can, feel comfortable taking my shirt off in public, then good. I'll stay where I am. If not, then, I'll do some stuff and try and drop some weight because I want to be able to look good without a shirt on. And I think most people wind up wanting to be able to look good without a shirt on. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But, I'm kind of in not necessarily a holding pattern per se because I am still, improving myself, but it's improving in a slightly different way than just dropping weight. Does that make sense? And mentioning that today is October 3rd, I would be remiss if I did not mention something that happened 1 year ago today, and you're probably not going to hear this on mainstream media. They don't want you to remember this anniversary. 1 year ago today, October 3rd, 2015, the U.S. military bombed a hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. Yes, you heard me right. The U.S. military bombed a hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. Now, the U.S. military did wind up investigating themselves and determined that there were no war crimes because there was no intention to bomb the hospital that they knew was a hospital because they didn't intend to bomb the hospital. Now, what happened, Doctors Without Borders was repeatedly notifying the U.S. military and the Afghan military, hey, we're a hospital, here's our GPS coordinates. But somehow, some, military pilot was flying around and got confused or something and didn't have his don't bomb list on him and was like, oh, there's a building, let's bomb that, because I think that's the one that the Taliban's firing from, even though it was about a quarter mile in another direction. Just, bombed it, not once, not twice, but repeated airstrikes for an hour and a half. But again, don't worry, because the military investigated themselves and determined there was no war crime. Even though everything that they did, by definition, is a war crime in accordance with international humanitarian law. But again, you're not going to hear this anniversary mentioned on mainstream media, and I'm only mentioning it because I did mention that the date is October 3rd, and it was 1 year ago, and I am, again, not going to shut up about this as long as, there's actually no justice for the victims, not only the people that died in that bombing, but the people that were maimed in that bombing as well. Until there's justice, what's the saying? That's right, no justice, no peace. But I try to be peaceful because this is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, and there's more on why school doesn't actually prepare you for the real world. Stay tuned. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? Will anybody care? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Yes, I know I went off on a tangent because, well, that's what happens at times. Like the trolley's going down the tracks and somebody's like, nah, pull the switch. And just, goes, and then ultimately, multi-track drifting, and then I get back on track. And that's where I am now. I'm back on track with the 5 reasons why school does not prepare you for the real world. I'm still in the introductory here. They say it's a big world out there, and it will throw various challenges your way. You need to prepare yourself for them. You would not believe how many graduates have difficulties with very simple tasks like paying bills. Yes, apparently, people that have graduated school do not know how to pay bills. That is mind-numbing to me. It's baffling that someone could graduate high school or college and not know how to pay a bill. Neglecting this piece of advice will most certainly leave you confused and discouraged to make it on your own. And I know you don't want to be one of those people who comes back running to their parents only months after school is done. So check out the following 5 pointers related to different areas of resourcefulness you should focus on. Now, I'm sharing this not because I necessarily think that my listeners are still in school, but my listeners probably have children who are. So this is, for you, for your children, if that makes any sense. The main way that school does not prepare you for the real world, school suffocates curiosity. What's the quote from Mark Twain? I never let my schooling get in the way of my education. Well, curiosity suffers. Schooling suffocates curiosity. The lucky among us have some affinities already developed, and school simply helps us learn about them in more details. But those who still have not discovered their talents spend their days at school just wandering from class to class. The general problem with classes and lessons is in saturation. The materials that professors are trying to teach you, which you later need to study so that you can pass the test, are rather extensive. Considering the fact even that little curiosity students have, or rather, even the little curiosity that students have gets suffocated. In order to avoid this, you should never stop developing your skills and working on your talents, because that's exactly what you're meant to do in life, and no amount of unnecessary school material should take it away from you. The methods are unadjusted, meaning it's one size fits all, baby. Even though, as you know, especially if you were, a bigger child or a below average sized child, you know that those one size fits all t-shirts weren't actually one size fits all. Nope, they're not. They're one size fits, people that are average, but it was not actually a one size fits all. But that's what the education system tries to do. It tries to be a one size fits all. And what the U.S. government did back during the Bush administration with the No Child Left Behind thing was they said, we've got to make sure that every student hits 100% proficiency. How do you do that? Do you wind up teaching the other kids to learn faster? It'd be akin to, all right, we're going to make sure that every athlete winds up holding the world record. Well, there's no way to do that unless you never raise the bar on the high jump to above a point that everybody can clear. There's no way that you could do that unless you wind up, having every runner run at the same pace. So, no child left behind. Everybody's got to be at 100% proficiency. The only way to do that is to lower the bar of what proficiency is. And that's this one-size-fits-all solution. They say that just a small number of elite schools are testing and later applying revolutionary teaching methods, and they're not available to the wide public because of one simple reason: they're expensive. There must have been a wrong turn in the history of mankind where everyone decided that it's just fine for education to have a ridiculously high price. Now, I want to pause here to say that this is something that I disagree with. Now, you can learn almost anything you want relatively cheaply. You can't learn from good people relatively cheaply. There are websites that you can go to and you can learn things for free. But again, you're not going to hire an instructor for free. Now, what has caused higher education to be so expensive? If you said the federal government, you are absolutely correct. The U.S. federal government has caused the price of a college education to skyrocket. And this is partly due to various mandates, and it's also partly due to the college loan bubble. Yes, it's a bubble. It's not burst yet. Just give it time. It's starting to. There's some leaks where some private schools that wound up being told you're not allowed to get federally backed student loans from students anymore. They said, well, we're shutting our doors. And what they don't tell you is all student loans now are federally backed. Sure, you can go to your local bank or your local credit union, but the loan that they give you is backed by some federal underwritten program that wound up getting implemented just a couple of years ago. So, yeah, the reason that a fine education is expensive is partly because you have to pay labor. You can't just force people to teach you for free. And also, the federal government has, interfered and manipulated, and there's not a free market in education. There's not anything that even remotely resembles a free market in education, and that has driven the price up. There's a little bit more written here about the one-size-fits-all, where they say about the methods are unadjusted. But I will skip that, and when we come back, I'll give you the remaining 3 reasons that school does not prepare you or your children for the real world here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at FPPRadio.com.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
Hi, this is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at FPPRadio.com. I've got a question for you. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? If so, then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal. Spend-A-Bit is the search engine for things you can buy, you guessed it, with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend-A-Bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin-accepting merchant, like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. That's spendabit.fppradio.com. Spendabit.fppradio.com. Back to the 5 ways that schooling does not prepare you for the real world. Number 1, and most importantly, it suffocates curiosity. The methods are unadjusted, meaning one size fits all. Being plain old handy. Not sure exactly what they mean here, but they say, sure, you've done your education, you're done with your education, and you should start living by yourself, enjoying your privacy and independence, but there are a couple of things you forgot about. Another problem you'll be faced with are minor home repairs, because chances are you never had something as simple as a screwdriver in your hands. So I guess you'll be confused with changing a light bulb. Okay, so being plain old handy just mean, like they don't teach you how to change a light bulb. Now, if you have, I will just pause here to say, if you have lived for 18 years or 20 or 22 years, and, because some of this that they're talking about is college. So, let's assume that you went, high school only. If you've lived 18 years and you have never changed a light bulb, I don't know what the hell your parents were thinking, never teaching you how to do that. If you have lived 18 years or 20 or 22 and have never held a screwdriver, I want to know what your parents were thinking. Because I know when I was a kid, I would, help do stuff. I knew how to change a light bulb when I was, definitely a teenager, probably before that. When I was a teenager, I helped my dad build a new deck onto a house. And, I've been doing, handy stuff. When I say handy stuff, I can, cut a piece of wood with a saw. I know how to do that. But, I couldn't construct a house. Although I have helped build a couple of houses and barns and stuff like that. But, I'm not one of these, just go build a house because I'm a guy sort of guys. I would much rather, work with my brain, but I know how to do handy stuff. So if you have lived 18 or 20 or 22 years and you do not know how to change a light bulb or how to use a screwdriver, I feel sorry for you. I really, really do. Next on the list, they say that schooling does not teach you about the monetary system. And, well, no, they're not talking about, where money comes from. The Federal Reserve creates it out of thin air. Because they definitely don't teach you that. But what they're talking about here in the article on Lifehack, they say one more thing you should definitely know how to do is money management. Unless you've chosen to study something that's strictly related to the economy, not a single class you attended taught you about how to handle money, how to save money, how to invest money, and this usually turns out to be a serious problem in adulthood. But again, there are many problems with the monetary system other than just here's how you save, here's how interest is calculated, here's how compound interest is calculated. And I do remember in high school learning about that. I don't retain, or I did not retain most of the information about, what I learned, because it was on one side you put a debit and on another side you put a credit, but a credit's not always a negative and a debit's not always a positive, and it just made no sense. It seemed to contradict logic. Because when I'm looking at my bank account, okay, this amount was debited, meaning added to the account. This was credited and this. But nope, in economic terms, accounting terms, debit and credit don't always mean what you would think they mean. But again, schooling definitely does not teach you how to balance a checkbook or how to, calculate tax rates, things of those lines. And number 5, lack of cooking skills. That's right. School does not teach you how to cook. Unless you take a home ec class in which, you wind up misreading the directions on blueberry muffins. You make purpleberry muffins, and they're the most delicious things you've ever had in your mouth, and your teacher winds up giving you an A+. Because that happened to Darryl. I was reading the instructions, stuff was in the blender, and I tossed the blueberries in the blender, and my blueberry muffins turned purple, and they were delicious. But here on Lifehack, they say, and the last but certainly not the least important reason why a school doesn't prepare you for the real world is related to your home. You need to be able to feed yourself, and almost everyone I know is incredibly confused when they enter a kitchen, let alone when they start using a knife or a pan. Cooking is fun and a great way to relieve stress while you're doing something creative, so I don't fully understand why this still is not one of the classes everyone must attend. Now, I think everyone probably should, but I don't like the idea of requiring anybody to do anything. That's why I'm a libertarian. Stay tuned. There's a little bit more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. And here in the closing moments of the show today, I want to make sure that I tell you about the FPP Peace Prize. It's been around since 2009. Why was it created? Well, the Nobel Prize Committee has this history of awarding people that aren't necessarily peaceful. They don't want a more peaceful world. They want to drop bombs on people. What's the bumper sticker? Barack Obama has fired more cruise missiles than all other Nobel Peace Prize winners combined. Yeah, so when you look at the people that have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize, not a lot of people that are doing things to make a more peaceful, free world. That's why back in, again, 2009, I created the FPP Peace Prize, and voting is open now. Voting is open now through November 8th, and you can go to peaceprize.xyz. And I'll just read through the list of nominees here real quick. Some of these are individuals who have passed. Murray Rothbard, and these are in no particular order. Murray Rothbard, Walter Block, Davi Barker, the Muslim agorist, Christopher David of Free Uber, Arlie Wright, who was a Libertarian presidential candidate in 2012. Unfortunately, he was not the nominee in 2012. Tom Woods, famous Libertarian, host of The Tom Woods Show. Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin. Also have Matt Phillips, the president of the Free State Project. Abdul Sattar Edhi, who is a Pakistani philanthropist. He is also a humanitarian who founded the Edhi Foundation that runs hospitals, homeless shelters, and rehab centers and orphanages across Pakistan. Other nominees here: the Dalai Lama, Dr. Mary Ruart, Ernest Hancock, Mark Edge, Concepcion Picciotto. She protested for peace outside of the White House for many, many years. Bernard von Nothaus of Liberty Dollar fame. Roger Paxton from the Lava Flow podcast. Bitcoin Not Bombs, the Ludwig von Mises Institute, and Jeffrey Tucker. Again, voting open through November 8th, and its approval, which means you can vote for as many or as few as you like. And don't forget, every Wednesday, Ask Me Anything. Send those questions ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.